Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a week 4 edition of Cuz. You don't know football? Guys, we in here again. We got another exciting week. I got a lot to say this week. So this week we're going to do this again. We're going to run this back with just us, okay? Because I got a lot to say and I got a lot to get through. So please pardon the uh the aloneness that's happening right now. No, I'm sorry, y'all. That was weird. But here we go. We're gonna jump right into this into these week 4 games. Right? We are in week 4. I just want to make sure because sometimes your boy will make a mistake. Ain't nothing wrong with a little mistakey poo. What we doing? When I've been looking at the scores now, it like jumps like way back to preseason. I don't know. This thing, y'all know technology be bugging out. So yes, we're back at week 4, and we're going to jump right into these games. So the Thursday night game, the Seahawks won a really close game against the Arizona Cardinals. The Seahawks won 23, and the Cardinals had 20. That's getting into some player stats. Now, of course, I always say the losing team stats first. Kyler Murray, he was 27 of 41, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He also led them in rushing with 5 carries for 41 yards, not much on the ground. Marvin Harrison Jr. Led them in receiving with 6 receptions for 66 yards and a touchdown. And Emery DeMarcado, he also had a receiving touchdown as well. Do they have any sacks or anything? Who does Calais Campbell had a sack? Good for him. Darius Robinson had a sack. Okay, good for him. And Josh Sweat also had a sack. They had a lot of sacks for a team that lost. And no picks. Okay. Okay, for the Seahawks, Sam Darnold, he was 18 to 26 for 242 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Kenneth Walker III, he led them with 19 carries for 81 yards. But Zach Charbonnet actually had the rushing touchdown. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he had 4 receptions for 79 yards. But AJ Barner actually had the receiving touchdown. Let's see what they had. Um, Devin Witherspoon had a half a sack. Ernest Jones had a half a sack. Who else had a sack? Drake Thomas had a sack. There's a lot of sacks. Josh Jobe had a sack. I'm sorry, he had a half a sack. Um, Uchenna Anuswa. Sorry, not familiar with the name. He had 2 sacks. You better start getting familiar with the name. Leonard Williams had a sack and a half as well. And Kobe Bryant actually had the pick. I was reading I was listening to something, and they were saying that the quarterbacks, their receiving or their passing yards have come down so much because they're not trying to make the difficult passes anymore. Like they're not trying to thread the needle. So, they're leaving a lot of yards out there because they don't want the picks. With that said, how the hell, Kyler, how you coming away with 2 picks then? Like what exactly are you doing? Like I can clearly see the offensive line was not playing well. Either offensive line wasn't playing well. Um, but you got to win the turnover battle. You know what I mean? Especially in division games, you have to win the division battle. Uh, I picked the Cardinals to make the playoffs. They're starting to scare me with games like this, and it makes me feel like I underestimated the Seahawks. Because to be honest with you, the Seahawks were controlling this game the whole time. They were controlling the game the whole time. Oops, sorry. They were controlling the game the whole time, and the Cardinals made they came back at the end of it. Um, but there was never a moment where I really felt like the Cardinals were going to take the lead or anything like that. Uh, so I guess, we can look at this game and say, hey, Arizona, they only lost by three. Seattle off to a great start. Yeah, I get all of that. These were two very good teams playing each other. I just really felt like Seahawks had the upper hand in this game. They looked like the better team for the whole game. Okay. All right. So let's go to our next game. Hold on. I want to talk about this game. Now, this game wasn't even going to be talked about. I'm throwing it on there. Y'all knew I was going to get them. The Chargers lost to the Giants, 21-18. Justin Herbert was 23 of 41 for 203 yards, one touchdown, and two picks. Amarian Hampton had 12 carries for 128 yards and a touchdown. Oh, and just Herbert also had a one rush for 24 yards. Quentin Johnson had eight receptions for 98 yards and a touchdown. Wow. But Tuiapu had four sacks. He had four sacks. And Derwin James had a half a sack. That means somebody else had a half a sack. Justin Epoge, he had a sack. And Caleb Murphy had a half a sack. I'm not even going to read the Giants' stats because that's not why I'm here. Remember when I did the way too early playoff predictions and everybody made comments on that reel and everything like that? See, y'all think I be hating on the Chargers. Y'all really do think I hate on the Chargers, and that's not what happens at all. The fact of the matter is this is their MO. They look great. Like think about who they beat. They were coming into this game undefeated. They had finally beaten the Chiefs. They had beaten the Broncos. That's what they beat. They came in, they beat the Broncos. They come in and they get a winless team that has not won a game, and that's who they lose to. And that's what happens to the Chargers every year, every single year. I don't know what goes on with them or why they play so down to people, but this is their MO. And now I know what to feel about them. We're going to look at them again. They're going to look good again. They're going to lose to somebody stupid. And they always seem to want to do that. I have no idea what this is about. The culture has not changed. And they got me too. That's the thing that makes me mad. They got me. I looked at them and I said, oh, the Chargers might actually be good. It happens like this every time. Every year, the Chargers do Charger things. This loss to a 3-0 Chargers losing to a winless New York Giants team is exactly what happens all the time. And I'm not even going to read the Giants. I'm not even going to read the Giants stats because that had nothing to do with nothing. The Chargers lost. That's just stupid. Okay, so here we go. Next game. All right, so my Indianapolis Colts. We lost our first game of the season, y'all. I know I'm sad. I'm sad about it too. Believe me, I'm sad about it too. We lost in LA to the Rams, 27-20. And we had this game in hand too, and that's what makes me real mad about it. We had this game in hand. Either way, Daniel Jones was 24 of 33 for 262 yards, one touchdown, and two picks. Jonathan Taylor had 17 carries for 76 yards. Tyler Warren actually had a rushing touchdown. Uh, AD Mitchell had three receptions for 96 yards. We're gonna get back to him. But Michael Pittman actually had our receiving touchdown. Let's look at our sacks. Nick Cross had a half a sack. Malachi Blackman, or Makai Blackman, excuse me. Makai Blackman had a sack. Leatu Latu had his first sack of the season. Let's see. There was another half a sack, I believe. It's somewhere in there. It's somewhere in there. And then Matthew Stafford, he was 29 of 41 for 375 yards, three touchdowns, no picks. Kyron Williams was 13. He had 13 carries for 77 yards. There was no rushing touchdowns. Puka Nacua had 13 receptions for 170 yards and a touchdown. Um, Tutu Atwell, that was the clinching. It's funny he had one reception. This was the clinching reception. One reception for 88 yards and a touchdown. That's crazy. Devontae had four receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. See what they had. Cameron Curl had two picks. Jesus. Jared Verse had a sack. Byron Young had a sack. So the offensive line actually, the Colts offensive line actually held up. Okay, so let me tell you the story of this game. The Colts did not, or let me say this, the Rams did not win this game. The Colts lost this game. I'm going to repeat. The Rams did not win this game. The Colts lost this game. We outplayed the Rams. We were the better team. I was actually shocked that we were playing like the better team this whole game. The fact that we lost came down to A.D. Mitchell. I said we was going to get back to that name. What the hell was he doing? And he had a good game. First of all, we lose by 7. Y'all see, I almost got mad right there. He catches the ball and he goes into the end zone and is about to showboat, and the ball slips out of his hands and goes out the back of the end zone. And and the Rams get the ball back there. So we lose 7 points right there. And then Jonathan Taylor actually broke another run. So he actually would have had over 100 yards rushing, except we bring that back because he's holding in a way that he's not even in the play. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones didn't throw the 2 picks that he threw. I'm just saying the reason why we lost that game is because and A.D. Mitchell, I don't know what happened, man. That's why it's always hard to trust young guys because they do young guy shit. You know what I'm saying? This was young guy shit, doing immature shit. That's how we ended up losing this game. He's got to bounce back. He owes us one because we lost this game because of him, and then secondly Daniel Jones, but we lost this game because of him. Shout out to the Rams. They're an amazing team. I told you they're in the NFC. There's a big 3: the Eagles, the Packers, and the Rams. They're an amazing team. I want to see more of them. I will be watching them throughout the year, and I'm still going to sit here and say it wouldn't be shocking that they actually did go to the Super Bowl this year. I wouldn't be shocked. They're that good. The Indianapolis Colts outplayed the Rams in LA. That happened. Okay. So I'll leave that there. I'll leave that to what y'all think happened in the description below. You guys tell me. The Chiefs always beating up on the Ravens. I don't know what's going on with the Ravens right now. I had a funny feeling about them, not to this extreme, but I had a funny feeling about them. So, um, so the Chiefs beat up on the Ravens. They won 37-20 in a bounce back game for the Chiefs. In a game that everybody said the Ravens needed more for morale reasons. And they lost by 17. All right, so let's go. Let's get into it. Lamar Jackson was 14-20, 147 yards, one touchdown, and one pick. Justice Hill, he had 3 carries for 76 yards and one touchdown. And then Lamar also had 48 yards rushing. Zay Flowers had 7 receptions for 74 yards, no touchdowns, and Justice Hill actually had a receiving touchdown too. So shout out to Justice Hill. So they had no picks. And they had 1 sack by Tavius Robinson. Okay. And the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, he was 25 of 37, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. Good God. Xavier Worthy actually led them in rushing with two carries for 38 yards. They did nothing on the ground. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was just lighting their ass up. He had 5 He also had Xavier Worthy. I'm talking about Xavier Worthy had 5 receptions for 83 yards, no touchdowns. Now the touchdowns came from Hollywood Brown had a receiving touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster had a receiving touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco had a receiving touchdown, and Tyquan Thornton had a receiving touchdown as well. Y'all, something wrong with the Ravens. It's something wrong with the Ravens. Um, you remember back in the day when it seemed like Bill Belichick would always um outcoach whoever the team is that was supposed to be close to them, the team that's supposed to be the rival, the team that's supposed to be able to compete with them, possibly beat them. And it always seemed like a gap every single time. Well, Andy Reid is doing that to John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens. And he's been doing that. This is not this is not a rivalry. In rivalries, a team's gotta win. And every time we got a new reason why the Ravens lost to the Chiefs. This is what I'll be saying about Patrick Mahomes. When everybody always says these quarterbacks is better than Patrick Mahomes, he always has their number. If he plays Josh Allen, it's gonna be the same thing. This is just what you can expect. Now, I am very shocked about where the Ravens are. They're 1-3, and they're 2 games out of first place in their division. If the playoffs started today, they'd be out of the playoffs. I know it's just week 4. Um, but they got to make up 2 games. As quiet as it's kept. This is the so coming into the season when we looked at this, I was one of those that was very excited for the Ravens. I looked at their roster and I said, you know what? Look at all these cornerbacks. With Lamar Jackson, you know what? They're a blitzing team. If they have all these cornerbacks, this might uplift them. And I said, as one caveat, I just have to see what it looks like for 17 weeks plus the playoffs. The Ravens just blitzing, 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 and not having a 4-man pass rush, needing 2 pass rushers to get to the quarterback. Not having that, would that matter? I said it may not matter. Well, it clearly matters. It clearly matters that the Baltimore Ravens don't have 4 pass rushers or 2 pass rushers to get to you with a 4-man front. Excuse me, y'all. It's clearly a problem that the Ravens don't have the ability to get to you with 4 pass rushers or four defensive linemen. I'm very interested to see where they go from this because I hope that they're not the the bust of the year candidate. There was a lot of teams that we thought was going to be this. This would be this if the Ravens don't make the playoffs, they'd go down with like the super team Eagles with Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson and LeSean McCoy, what I mean, Jeremy Maclin. Remember that Eagles team? This would go down there. Like if the Baltimore Ravens don't get to the playoffs with this is going to be bad, real bad. And that's all I got to say about that. Oh, and with the Chiefs, they're getting their they're getting their weapons back. So now Xavier Worthy comes back. You see the difference. Um, Rashid Rice is going to come back in about 3 weeks. The Chiefs, I'm less worried about the Chiefs now than I was before. Um, but we just got to see. We just got to see. Now, also, I didn't say anything, but I am filming this while the Monday Night Football game is going. So the Dolphins actually beat the Jets. I don't know how the Dolphins and the Jets became the Monday night game, but that's just not what we're looking at. And then the other one was the Broncos. The Broncos beat the Bengals 28-3, and there's no Joe Burrow. So they got to start flexing some of these games. No one cares about that. All right. In the Sunday night game, the Packers and the Cowboys tied, which puts me in an interesting situation because who do I say first? Because I always say losing team first. So I guess by default, I'm gonna go with the Packers, or I'll go with the Cowboys first because they have the worst record. Dak Prescott was 31 of 40 for 319 yards, three touchdowns, and no picks. Javonte Williams had 20 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. They had literally nothing else on the ground after that. George Pickens, eight receptions, 134 yards, two touchdowns. And uh and Jake Ferguson, he had 40 yards receiving and a touchdown. Did they have any sacks or anything like that? Or picks? James Houston had a sack. Who else had a sack? Okay. And no picks. Okay. So Jordan Love was 31 of 43 for 337 yards, three touchdowns, no picks. Josh Jacobs had 22 carries for 86 yards and two touchdowns. He also led them receiving for four receptions for 71 yards. But Romeo Dobbs had six receptions for 58 yards and three touchdowns. Did they have any sacks or picks? No, they didn't have any picks. I just remember that. Micah Parsons did have a sack. Okay. And he had the only sack. I guess that's, you know what I mean? That's karma. First of all, I really don't like, hold on. First of all, I really don't like either one of these quarterbacks throwing the ball as much as they did. Now, they did a hell of a job. Neither one of them had interception, and they both threw for over 300 yards. This was a highly entertaining game. Um, it ended up in a tie. We don't see many ties all the time. So, what's my takeaway from this game? Nothing really changed. It's just I do have a little bit more questions about the Packers. Do they need to get another pass rusher still? Like, what do they? There's got to be something that they're missing, and I've noticed that the last, I would say, 3 weeks, and they've won one, lost one, and tied one in the last 3 weeks. Like, is something missing with them because this is now a very talented roster. Now, the Cowboys, and I say that because the Cowboys basically said we're gonna double team Micah Parsons all game, and you're gonna have to get somebody else to come to get a pass rush. And basically that was like, all right, well, you can't do that. Do they have to blitz more? Do they, you know what I mean? Like, something has to give for the Packers to figure out this defense. Because they did give up their cornerback. They gave up a cornerback in the offseason to Baltimore. They gave up their cornerback and got a pass rusher. And I would say that's an advantage for a team, for a roster, to give up a cornerback for a pass rusher. Essentially, that's what they did. But their team is very young, and I'll give them that pass. The Packers roster is very young. So they have to figure out what they're going to do with this roster figuring stuff out. I do have faith that they're going to figure out their roster. And also want to say, um, Matt LaFleur, I mean, that was a nice fade you had there too, but my man. That fade, like I don't know if y'all saw him, but like, listen, he got the shape up. I need a shape up. You know what I'm saying? But he got a fade shape. I'm like, okay, I see you, Matt. You came in ready. The team didn't come in as ready. You came in ready though, my friend. And as far as the Cowboys, I really don't have too much to say. The Packers should have closed them out. You know what I mean? Not even having CD Lamb. I know they both had injuries, but not having CD Lamb. is, you know, something you should have did. You should have won. Okay. Okay. Um, okay, cool. Well, that was week 4. So we're gonna go through in the first 4 weeks the standings in the AFC and the NFC. See what it looks like, what teams are moving and what trajectory. Have that kind of conversation. So NFC, the Bucks are leading their division at 3-1. Falcons are 2-2. So they're technically right there, although I'm not impressed with the Falcons at all. At all. Um, so the NFC North is actually looking really, really, really good. The Lions are leading the division with a 3-1 record, and then the Packers are 2-1 because they just tied. And then the Vikings and the Bears are both 2-2. The Bears feel worse than 2-2. I will say that they're 2-2, but they feel worse than 2-2. And that's kind of everything that you ever hear me talk about the NFC South, like in like the winning team, like 2-2 would be last place in every other division, and somehow the Falcons are in second. But I ain't going to even get too much into that. Um, that's cool. Now, the NFC West, there's a three-way tie with a three-way tie amongst the top of that division. The 49ers are 3-1, the Seahawks are 3-1, and the Rams are 3-1, and the Cardinals are 2-2. And of course, the Cardinals is the team that I said was going to make the playoffs too. Now, I still think the 49ers are going to start to make their way back a little bit. That's just how I feel. That's my opinion. But the Seahawks, I'm right now. I'm loving the Seahawks. I'm loving their defense. I'm loving their offense. I don't love their quarterback, but I don't mind them. But I don't love their quarterback. But the Seahawks are a really good team, and of course, I still think the Rams are the cream of the crop in that division. And of course, the Eagles are winning the NFC East with an undefeated record, 4-0, and the Commanders are 2-2. And the Cowboys are 1-2-1, and the Giants are 1-3, beating the Chargers. I don't even know how that happens. Um, yeah, this is looking interesting. So some of the storylines that you should be looking at is the NFC West going to put 3 teams in the playoffs? Is they in the NFC North? I mean, because right now the NFC West could put 3 teams in the playoffs, and the NFC North could put 2 teams in the playoffs. But then the team that we all thought was still going to make the playoffs, the Commanders, would actually be out. So we gotta watch. We gotta keep an eye on the NFC. The NFC is real deep. All right. So in the AFC South, there's a two-way tie amongst the AFC South with the Colts and the Jaguars both being 3-1. Sorry, I may not have let everybody know we're switching over to the AFC. So now the AFC South, the Colts and Jaguars are both 3-1, which is going to look like an interesting race throughout the year. But the surprise team, the Texans, man, I didn't see that one coming. 1-3, and that does not look like that's going to get any better. I'm gonna be honest with you. They're out the playoffs. Like the next time, so we have another playoff prediction probably coming in the next week or two, and it's gonna be the final one of the year. They're out the playoffs. Absolutely. In the AFC North, the Steelers are 3-1 and leading that division, and the Bengals are 2-2. But the Bengals are gonna slide, and then the Ravens are 1-3. That's surprising. That is surprising. They're tied with the Browns at 1-3. And the Browns' only win is against the Ravens. No, that I lied. They're against the Packers. Scratch that. Uh but the Ravens is the Browns the Ravens' only win? Wow, the Browns is the Ravens' only win. Okay. Did not see that coming. All right. So in the AFC West, the Chargers are still in the lead in that division at 3-1, and the Chiefs and the Broncos are both at 2-2, and the Bills are undefeated at 4-0 in the East, and the Patriots are next at 2-2. And of course, the Jets and Dolphins just played each other, and they were both winless, and one of them had to win. I guess that right now it was the Dolphins. But a lot of storylines here too. I mean, the AFC West could put two teams in. Does the AFC South put two teams in too? Does the Patriots squeak in? Like, there's a lot of storylines that we still need to unravel. I'm very excited about that. So the end of the playoff, I'm not going to do it next week because I know because I'm going to have a scheduled guest next week. So I'm not going to do the playoff predictions next week, but the week after that, I think I'm going to hit that pretty hard. And I think that's when in week 6, you're going to get in week 6, you're getting your final playoff predictions. I'm telling you who's going to make the playoffs at that point. At that point, I'm going to tell you who's going to make the playoffs. You don't get that this early. You don't get that this early from anybody else. I'm telling you. So, so that's that. Okay, so let's look at some of next week's games. Okay, 49ers and the Rams are playing on Thursday. Where are they playing at? At SoFi Stadium, which is in LA. So they're playing in LA. I expect the Rams to take care of that in LA again in the second straight week. I expect the Rams to take care of it. My family's actually going to be over watching the Cowboys and Jets game. I'm not giving you a pick on it. I'm just telling you. I might have to have my phone on and watching the game. Not too many great games next week, to be honest with you. Broncos and Eagles. That's a good game. I think I'm going with the Broncos here to break the streak in Philly. I think I'm going with the Broncos. You know what? Hold on. Let me get this so I can send this to my boy JB because he's a Broncos fan. So yes, this week I got the Broncos breaking the Eagle streak, getting them out of the undefeated seeds. I got the Broncos doing their thing this week, going into Philly, coming out with a dub. JB, you heard it here first. You heard it here first. I'm rolling with the Broncos. He gonna text me right back. He gonna be real happy I said that. So some of these games are supposed to be big games. Like the Texans and Ravens is supposed to be a really good game, but it's not. They're both 1-3. Like that's not a big game. I have to overlook that right now. So the Bucks and the Seahawks. You know what, Seahawks? I'm really curious about who you are, and I want to know what you're made of. I'm picking the Seahawks to win this game. I'm picking the Seahawks to win this game. So Seahawks Bucks, I'm going with the Seahawks. See, Lions and Bengals is supposed to be a good game, but it's not anymore. Lions are gonna win that. Commanders and Chargers. I want to check something real quick. All I want to see is the injury report and see is how bad's the injury. Okay, yeah, Jaden Daniels is gonna be out. Okay. Nope, this isn't a close game. Uh yeah, I'm going with the Chargers in this one. But watch, they'll lose to them too. Now, back to back weeks, if they do that, that would just be hilarious. And technically speaking, the Chiefs and Jaguars is a big game right now. I mean, I'm going with the Chiefs, but it's still a big game. And that pretty much wraps it up. Week 4 had a lot of surprises and storylines and shocks, and it was a really good week. It was a really great week of football. But I think this is where we're going to start to wrap it up here, boys and girls. So, once again, you can, am I forgetting anything? I don't think I'm forgetting anything. So you can catch the full episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Catch the reels on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We all over the place. And family, it was just us today. Come closer. I got to tell you something. It's a secret. Cuz you don't know football. You want to say it again louder? Cuz you don't know football. I'm your boy Reek. Like Martin said, I'ma see you when I see you. Peace.